Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm your host, Wendy Corner, and this podcast is for you if you're an entrepreneur. Yes, you heard me right, if you're an entrepreneur, because you will have published work. It may be a solo book, it may be an anthology, it may be a blog, but I can guarantee you'll be on socials, aren't you? And what's that if it's not published work? So you've already ticked the page bit. What about the stage thing? I'm not necessarily talking about a platform with a microphone in your hand. That is a public stage. But what else? What other public speaking opportunities are there? There are virtual summits. There are podcasts like this. There are networking opportunities. They are all stages. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're here, welcome. You're in the right place. Now, oh, am I excited. I get the chance to have a second bite of the cherry, as it were. And welcome back, Sheldon Crocker, a great mate of mine. We've known each other a few years now. We're actually met one day. Sheldon is in Newfoundland? Nearly?
Not quite.
How do you say it?
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. The emphasis on the land, right? Newfoundland, right. So he's in a time zone all of his own. And I would love to introduce you to him. I do know him reasonably well, but he knows himself far better than I do. Sheldon, introduce yourself to us. Will you give us a soupçon, an amuse-bouche of where you're coming from and how you got to where you are now?
Okay. Well, thank you, Wendy, for having me on your fantastic show once again, because I do believe that your words have power. All of our words have power. And I do believe we can take our words from the page to the stage. One thing you probably don't know about me is that I don't know any other languages besides Newfoundland and besides Newfoundlandese and English. So whatever the words you just used, they're beyond me.
Okay, I thought a bit of French as you're in Canada.
I figured.
Okay, sorry.
It's all good. Sheldon S. Crocker, a keynote speaker, award-winning author. Actually, my newest book that I published earlier this year, reached #1 in a few categories on Amazon recently. I'm also a resilience advocate. My life's work is about helping others unlock their potential through empowerment, disability advocacy, and inspiration. I've turned my life experiences of overcoming adversity into an engaging 6-week empowerment course and 2 best-selling books. Keep on
So
walking.
far.
Keep on walking, and the road to resilience. And with a 3rd book is on the way. Through my work, I guide people to embrace their inner greatness, offering them tools for personal growth. And I'm also passionate about storytelling, sharing my journey to connect with and inspire audiences around the world. So that's
Brilliant.
briefly about me.
Brilliant. Sheldon, you have come through a bit of stuff, haven't you? It's not been plain sailing for you to get to the ripe old age that you are now, says she, a good few years older than you. So
Not that old.
give us a little introduction as to some of the adversity, some of the struggles that you've had to cope with.
Well, the inspiration of my books is deeply rooted in my personal journey, as you say, one filled with adversity, triumphs, and unwavering pursuit of resilience, which is what I believe that we all can develop and grow more of, because we're not necessarily born with resilience, but we grow it as we go through life. So life has thrown many challenges my way. Some that have scars. I got scars on my arms, scars on my face here when somebody threw a rock at me. Others that offered profound lessons, such as don't believe everything that you hear. Because many years my father always told me I'd never be anything besides a disabled welfare bum. And for many years I believed that. And look at me now, I'm speaking to help people realize that they don't have to be what they think they are. They can be so much more. So these experiences weren't just isolated events. blocks that shaped who I am today. Writing the books that I've written, doing the course of helping people, mostly doing my speaking, the themes of overcoming adversity, discovering inner strength, and learning to rise above every fall reflects the core of my life story. So
Ah,
I've been through many years of child abuse when I was not yesterday. Um, my mother taking all of her frustrations towards her terrible marriage out on
mhm,
me because she didn't feel like she had any control in her life, so she would be physically abusive towards me and beating me with the belt for no reason,
mhm.
comparing me to others all the time. And as I said, my father daily telling me that I'd be nothing besides a disabled welfare bum. Um, my babysitter when I was like 4 years old, sexually abusing me. Um, Various other things such as that.
And here you are to tell the tale. And yeah, I'm honoured that you're still here and you've kept going, and that I've had the opportunity to meet you. So thank you for making that choice to keep going. Because I know that at one point you nearly didn't, did you?
Well, there was one point in my life, um, the darkest point in my life, where I was going through major addictions in my life, going through not only one but multiple addictions, addiction to drugs and addiction to alcohol and addiction to gambling. That I lived on the streets in December, January, and February. If anyone know the temperature in Newfoundland or Canada, it's not very warm here. It's like minus 10 to 20, minus 20 degrees Celsius. Um, it's a good thing it wasn't every day, but just about every day I slept on the park benches. And there was a time in my life when I actually ate donuts off sidewalks because I didn't have, drank it all away or gambled it all away. And
Mm.
there's been times in my life when there was actually, I don't want to get too uh, graphic here, but there was a time in my life when I come to realize years later it was mostly just a cry for help.
Yeah.
I was committed thinking about, or I was in the process of, I don't even know the right way to word it, but I'm still here,
You're still here. Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, I know that when we've spoken before, you did say that you had seriously contemplated ending it all. So I honour you for making that decision. As we're recording this, audience, this is the day before for us in North America. I'm in Central America, but already in Australia, it's World Mental Health Day. So this is particularly important to flag up that mental health affects all of us.
Hmm.
We all struggle at times, and admitting it is the first bit. And
Right.
also for the rest of us who are on an even keel at that moment, removing the stigma, because all of us face it at some point, and if we don't, we've stuffed it underneath, and it will eventually ding, come back and really have a problem. Thank you, Sheldon. Let's take you back in time to when you first started to write. How old were you?
When I first started to write, well,
I mean, as in
in
creative writing, not necessarily picking up a pen and going, A,
right. I was going to
B.
say we all started right about the same age, apparently, or
Yeah.
approximately. Um, I was much older actually.
Mhm.
Um, it was at the beginning of my recovery from addictions.
Okay.
When I went to an addiction treatment center, it was a part of the program was to keep a journal.
Right. Mhm.
So it's like keep a journal. What do you want me to write about? I'm gonna know. What am I gonna write? Like, I'm not just write about your feelings. Feelings. What are those? What are
Yeah.
feelings? I felt like a fool most of my life. I felt like just a robot most of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't have any feel. I didn't allow myself to have any feelings. Just
Yes.
like because of the things I went through, I
Mm.
learned at a younger age just to shut everything off.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have to. feel anything really. So it was a very big opening, mind-opening, eye-opening experience. So I was, how old was I when I first quit drinking? 28 years old.
28,
So I
right?
was 28 years old when I, so that's, oh, I don't want to date myself too much because you're not that much older than me.
It was a little bit ago, but not that
Yeah,
much ago.
right. Let's just say it was over 2 decades ago.
Okay,
It was over 2 decades ago when I first started writing, and I haven't stopped since. So
excellent,
I'm writing
excellent.
something new every day, and like I mentioned earlier in my last podcast, that to you was that I probably got enough written to write 40 books, but you know,
That's going to be great to see a whole bookshelf of Sheldon's work. How exciting will that be? Beautiful.
for
Okay,
sure.
so you started writing around the age of 28, and you've got 2 books out at the moment.
Yes.
So you've got your memoir and you've got a book of poetry, haven't you?
Well, yeah, my memoir is 2 books.
Memoir is 2 books.
Yeah, there's to keep on walking. There's Road to Resilience. Now,
Okay.
my book of poetry is, I don't really consider that, it is a book. Yes, it's a book that I wrote. But I consider it more like a supplementary book, more
Okay.
like a
Good
supplementary book
book.
to my first.
Okay.
Um, so, but it is still a book. Yes. Um,
3 books. 3 books.
yes.
The
Three
thing
books.
is, though, that Sheldon, some people will aim for poetry, will feel more attracted to poetry than they will to prose.
Right.
So that, in and of itself, could be an introduction to somebody to go, oh, this is quite good. This is very good. Who's the bloke who wrote it? Oh, hey, there's a couple of books out by him, a couple of not novels, memoir volumes. I'll pick it up and read it. So please, from my perspective, don't put it down. It's a third book, and it's a very important book because, as I said, some people are drawn to poetry more than they
True.
are to
True.
prose.
True.
Beautiful.
True. I totally agree. I'm not trying to discredit it at all. Or throw it away. It might sound like that, but you're correct.
You
You're
have a
correct.
third book out, and I love the idea because I have actually read it. It's great, great. So we've got those 3 books, and the poetry came first, did it? Remind
No,
me.
the Keep on Walking came first.
Came first. Then came
Then
the
it was then
poetry.
the path. See, I got my book of poetry. I don't even remember the name of it. The pathway to poetry, the glimmer of the shimmer of the silver lining. Because they say that every cloud has a silver lining,
Lining, yes.
which means the phrase means that there's a good side to everything. Even a
Yeah.
dark cloud has a silver lining.
Yes. There's
So
something good in
book is
everything.
yeah, and then the third book is the Road to Resilience.
The
So they're
road
all
to
kind of
resilience.
related about being on a journey. They're all
Yeah.
kind of related about like self-discovery, moving forward, transforming. So
So tell us about the next one, because you kind of dropped that into your socials a couple of days ago, and I'm going, oh, what's this about then? So do spill. Tell us about this fourth book that's coming out.
the fourth book is coming out, will be published before, or will be published on December. Will be published on October the 31st.
Okay.
Halloween.
You have a definite date. Great.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be published one way or another, hook or by crook. It's going to be published on October the 31st.
Brilliant.
And
Audience, this
then,
podcast will likely go out before the 31st of October. So watch the show notes, because we will update them. As soon as Sheldon gives me the link, the Amazon link, I will pop it on the show notes and do a quick blast on socials. So watch out for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. Tell us a bit more about it then.
Well, the inspiration for my book, this new book, which even though I said October the 31st, it will be October the 31st, I don't have a title for it yet.
Okay.
But But I
working
got
on
to
it.
narrow down to 6 different titles. I've got to post it in a few different places on social to get feedback. So whichever one is the most popular is most likely the one I'm going to pick. Um, but the inspiration for my book is deeply rooted in my personal journey once again. But
Hmm.
one filled with adversity, triumphs, and unwavering pursuit of resilience. But it's different in most books because the other books were more emotional.
Okay.
So this new book is going to take even a deeper look into the emotional, psychological aspects of resilience that my
Okay.
previous work did, while my earlier projects were more focused on sharing specific stories of triumph. And this book is an exploration of the very mechanisms that make resilience possible. So I'm going to
Ooh.
be kind of teaching, not a kind of, I am going to be teaching resilience.
Ooh. Bit more practical.
Yeah, it's more really more of a, instead of a memoir type of book, it is more of self-help. It's got worksheets and diagrams, and
Excellent.
so
Cool.
it's less about recounting what happened and more about providing a framework for readers to apply resilience to their own lives.
Love it. Love it.
This book is more personal. I
Hmm.
dive into the emotional nuances that I might not have touched on deeply before.
You probably weren't ready before, were you?
No, because I was only beginning to tell my story. That was the first one in before I was just telling my story, and after I had it out, my story out there, then I started to analyze it's like the effect of people and the kind of questions that people were asking after I told my story, and then I took all that and analyzed it in my own head about okay, maybe I can do this, do that,
Mm.
So I took everything that
They-
I learned from others.
So these people have been offering you what you're now, that the
Mm,
questions they've been posing have been the catalyst for what you're now going to bring out.
yeah.
Love it. Love it.
So
How's that
for
for audience feedback, audience? You are important. Never
sure,
forget that.
if it wasn't for the audience, none of the speakers would be or writers would be here. Because
Exactly.
if we didn't have an audience, who would we speak to? Just who would we write to if nobody's reading it, if nobody was listening,
Exactly. As I once said, swimmers aren't swimmers without water. Speakers and writers aren't speakers and writers without an audience.
right?
Exactly.
So
Beautiful.
this new book is also going to be more interactive. It's
Oh,
each chapter in reflections to help readers actively engage with their own journey, not just
oh.
passively reading about my own,
Hmm.
but it's going to help them go through their own. So and another key is the practical component, which is
Love
going to
it.
help people blend in their own personal stories into their own lives, to be able to know how to tell their own stories, to be able to help people to get to know them better, to help them know themselves. You
Mm.
know?
Which is, as you said earlier on, the thing that you really struggled with when you were first introduced to journaling, because, hello, don't want to know, too
That's right.
hard. Yeah.
That's right. I didn't know where to begin. It's like
Mm.
where do you begin with talking about your feelings? Okay, once upon a time, this happened and that happened, but okay, how am
Yeah.
I supposed to feel about it? I don't know. You know?
Well, that's the whole point of addiction, isn't it? It's a way of escaping what you don't want to look at.
That's right.
So, yeah, no, beautiful. Okay. So we've looked at, you started to write as a result of your rehab, as your journaling, and that has built now to number 4 coming out on Halloween. Oh, I'm
Hmm.
excited. I'm excited. Let's think about your speaking journey for a minute. I know you touched on this last time we spoke, but for the audience who haven't seen that one, tell us when you started speaking. And again, I'm not talking about
Mama, that hurts. No, mommy, stay away from daddy. No. Um, when did I start speaking? Well, when I was like 13 years old, my mother and father basically forced me to do well, it's international, so you probably have heard of it. It's called Lions Club International.
Okay.
Lions Club International is an
Yep.
organization around the world anyway.
Yes,
They
I've
have
heard of it.
speak outs or speak offs every year. Well, I don't know if they still have them or not, but they did. And my mother and father say, "Oh yeah, you're going to get in that. You're going to do that. You're going to get into that." It's like, okay. Um, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy speaking back then. I never, it wasn't about me winning an award. So, but I was still speaking at different things, and a few times I did win. But so I started when I was like 13 or 14, but then it went away. Then I stopped going and stopped attending those things, and other parts of my life. That's when the abuse and everything got even worse. And when I found out, oh, there's this thing in a brown bottle, called alcohol. So I slipped
So
away
I'm
from.
wondering if I can interrupt you for a minute. This was something that your parents actually encouraged you for.
No, they didn't really
And I'm just
encourage me.
hearing that, well, encouraged strongly. Up until then, you'd had no encouragement other than the
Mm.
whatever. So I can see why this could have been something that you thought, hey, I can do this. And
Hmm.
this is also going to prove that I'm not just a welfare bum.
Hmm.
I'm eloquent. I may not be completely physically able, but jolly well am mentally.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
beautiful. So
Yeah,
you
I.
started around 13, as you said. So you had these Lions International
Mhm.
competitions, and you were speaking in those. Did your parents come and support you?
No,
No. Okay.
no.
They just told you were going to do it.
Yeah, you go do that.
Okay, got it.
You gotta do something. You gotta do something. You might as well go make yourself useful. You can't do sports like the other kids. You got to do something. We want you to do something.
Yeah,
Make
yeah.
us proud. Like
And did you? Were they proud of you?
never,
Pardon?
they never ever told me.
They never told you.
They
Yeah.
never ever told me. No. Well, I can't say never. The last few years they did. The last few years they told me that you were proud of the way I was way back then.
Well,
You
that's
know.
good. Just
So
would have been nice to know at the time. Yeah, I know.
yeah, yeah, right.
Anyway, you heard it in the end.
Oh
Great,
yes, yeah,
great.
for sure,
Oh,
yeah.
cool. So,
Um,
go
yeah.
on.
No, no, you go ahead.
So this was when you started your speaker journey. So obviously you had your down period when life was down. When you were coming up the other side out of your addiction process,
Yeah,
when did you pick up the speaking again?
I was 29 years old.
Okay.
I was after going through a community center that I lived in, that I stayed at for 4 months. It was like a live-in therapy program to help
Mm-hmm.
people get acquainted with life, I guess.
Yeah.
People coming from addictions or abusive households or whatever, life skills, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they were having their eighth annual general meeting one year, and that was after doing their program. And I guess some of the counselors there, um, was it well, and that was part of the therapy was for me to tell my story about who you are, where you come from, like what kind of life you've lived and whatever. So one part of I received a phone call from them saying, Sheldon, we're looking for a guest speaker, someone who's actually after being through one of our programs to come and give a talk during our
Mm-hmm.
AGM. It's like, me, what am I going to speak about? I haven't got nothing to share. You've been through a hell of a life, or a heck of a life, or um, just like, hey, I guess I could speak about something, tell something. I don't know what you wanted me to speak about, or just tell your story. It's like, you sure? So I said, is there anyone there? And he said, oh yeah, 10 people. 10 people you know. 10 people you know. It's like, okay, fine, okay, that's all right. 10 people I know. I didn't know them anyway. I go there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's like 700 people there. My first time ever speaking. I was speaking, it wasn't some abstract story. It was my own deep personal story. In front of 700 people. It's like, you lied to me. You said there's going to be 10 people here. No, we didn't lie to you. We said there was going to be 10 people here that you knew,
No. Being economical with the truth there.
right?
Seriously.
You said there's
Oh,
going to be 10 people here that you know. Not that there's not going to be no one else here. It's like, okay. Do you say you still feel comfortable to get on stage? I said, well, I'm here. I came through life. I managed to survive what I survived. I'm sure me getting up there for 5 or 10 minutes is not going to kill me. He said, oh, 5 or 10 minutes. We were looking at you speak for half an hour. What? That's not what you told me in the beginning.
okay. Note to self,
I,
audience. Check out very clearly what the parameters of their expectations are, and check you're on the same page.
right?
Oh, golly, yes. I can just
So,
imagine, Sheldon.
so I got up there. I said, okay, I'm here. I'm not gonna. I felt like a disappointment most of my life to my parents, the way I felt. So I said to myself, well, I'm here. I said I would. This is what I was saying, inner dialogue. So I said, I don't want to disappoint anybody else in my life, and they're after helping me get to where I am today. So might as well to buck up or shut up, you know, buck up or ship out or whatever. So
And you did.
I got on
You did.
stage and I was shaking like a leaf. At first I was at the first couple of seconds, like when I was walking towards the stage, but like I don't know if it was like transformation happened at that time or what, but as I was walking, my back was to the audience. As I was walking to the stage, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? But as soon as I turned around, here I am. Here
Beautiful.
I am. Listen to me. You know?
That's the thing, isn't it? Because when you're on stage, if you focus on yourself and how nervous you are, that's when the problems start. That's when the nerves really kick in. That's when the brain freeze happens. But if you turn it out and say, I'm here to serve the audience, you're telling your story. You know your story. Nobody else knows it the way you do. So if you miss something off, they're not going to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
beautiful,
right.
beautiful.
For sure.
And that was, when did you do that? So you were 29 when you did that?
Okay, no, I'm wrong. I wasn't 29 when I did that at all. That doesn't add up at all. Wow. Um, Unless I am much younger than I think I am. Um,
Check your
no,
passport when you go home.
yeah, it was actually in 2017.
Oh,
So,
right.
so that's
Relatively
only
recent.
that's only 7 years ago. No, that was much younger. That was much wasn't. I was much older than 29.
Yeah. But
39.
I mean, how far you've come in that time. And
Hmm.
let's face it, we've had a certain pandemic in that time as well.
Yeah.
So you got obviously your stage speaking gigs dried up as they did for all of us. And you went online, which is how you and I met.
Hmm.
I think it was post-pandemic, but anyway, yeah. So you then went to experience the virtual stage and realizing our dear little boxes and how far we've got, what the parameters of our little boxes, so that we keep within the camera space. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Cool. So that you're comfortable now. I mean, you had to be very quickly reasonably comfortable, okay, with 700 people at your baptism of fire.
Yeah.
I absolutely honor you, sir, because there are an awful lot of people who would have gone, I can't do this.
Right.
So congratulations, congratulations. You put
Thanks.
your audience first and got up and did it. Go
Hmm.
you, go you. You're still speaking quite a lot on stage now, post-pandemic, aren't you, in your local area?
Pardon, you froze up for a second there.
In your local area, you're speaking quite a lot still, aren't you? Now we're allowed out to play post-pandemic.
Yes, I do have a few speaking opportunities or speaking engagements, not opportunities. I have a few speaking engagements coming up. I'll be doing a reading from my book now next week. It was supposed to be actually
Book
tomorrow night, but they had to
number
postpone it.
3.
Which one? Yeah, my
Road to
most
Resilience.
yeah, the Road to Resilience. That's the one. Yeah, number 3. Yeah, that's the one I'm going to be speaking on. This is an open book read. She's inviting in just some local artists. well known, or well known to here anyway. Artist, and one of the ones that I was one of the ones that she invited to come in and give an open book read to. Just I'm not sure exactly the numbers or how many's going to be there or what's going to be there. I don't know. Besides being asked to be one of the speakers, I don't know much more besides that. So
You know how long you've got?
yeah, she wants us to speak for to pick a chapter from our book. So
A whole chapter.
so I'm gonna make sure to pick the longest chapter. Most people would probably look to pick the shortest chapter, but I know I'm looking to pick the longest chapter in my book, whichever chapter that might be that's relevant to, and it's gonna be hosted in a pub bar atmosphere. So
Okay.
I'm gonna give
One of the things that I suggest to authors when they're reading from stage is that they grab little snippets from different parts of the book, called opening loops. It's a ploy that I'm sure you know. You
Right.
open a loop for the brain, and the brain goes, I want to know the rest of that story. I want to know the rest of that story. It's like cliffhangers.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of soap operas, they leave you hanging to come back for the next episode.
Yeah.
So see whether you can't persuade her to let you do little snippets.
That's what I plan on doing.
Leave those
That's what I
open
plan.
loops. Yeah.
That's
So
what
the
I plan
brain,
on
the
doing.
audience goes, oh, come on, I gotta buy the book.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just to read a sentence or two from each chapter.
I would give a paragraph or two.
Paragraph
but
from each chapter.
It depends on how much time you've got. But
Yeah.
it's that opening the loop and teasing.
For sure.
Teasing.
For sure.
And presumably you're going to have a load of books to sign.
Oh yes, that's one of the first things that I made sure. One of the first things she told me even before I asked, because she asked me to be a part of it. She said, "Oh, you make sure to bring some of your books to sell as well."
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you know,
And the joy of actually having the author sign the book is so precious, and obviously it's worth more because it's a signed copy.
right.
Beautiful.
For sure. So that's one. So that's one of the events, and the other event that's coming up next week is the St. John's, which is the capital of Newfoundland, where I live, the capital city of the province of the country, and where I live. St. John's annual storytelling festival. So I'm gonna be one of the storytellers. I got picked to be picked to be one of the speakers amongst what is considered here really well known speakers, well known storytellers.
Fabulous.
People that's been storytelling in this province for many years and well known.
Right.
And I'm gonna be speaking on today is from Limitless. No, from what's the topic? From Powerless to Limitless.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Powerless to limitless.
Yeah. So the day speaking is going to be that day is going to be speaking. It's a multi-day event, but that day is going to be about overcoming your obstacles and your barriers and living with how a person with a disability can be so much more and becoming limitless. So that's going to be a paid event where I'm going to get paid.
Even better.
Excuse me. Well, I'm going to get paid, and they're charging for entry. And
Are you allowed to sell your books as well?
I never asked that, but I'm getting paid from there, so it's
It would be worth asking whether or not you can have your books there.
yeah, right. I'm sure I will be able to. I attended a few before. And I noticed that there's usually books around, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Always worth
So that's the
asking.
second one. And I would starting in the new year, I'm going to be putting out my own workshops, my in-person workshops at a local what would I call it, conference center, I guess here in town where I live. It's going to be like every second week. I'm going to be putting off different events around resilience, personal development events,
Sure.
and where you can have like 100 people in the audience each time. It's going to be workshops kind of thing, So
Sure.
this gonna be. I'm already after being in collaboration with the event owner and.
Cool. I'm going to ask, because this is an international audience, just remember that there is a big world out there, and there's a virtual audience for you as well. So remember to think about how you could develop a virtual workshop and do those on a regular basis, because, well, I'm sitting here in Mexico. You and I have spoken to each other from Australia. I've been in Australia. I think I might also have been in Malaysia at one point when we've spoken. Yep. So my point is, it's a big, big world. And thanks to COVID, there aren't that many things that we can thank it for. But as you were saying earlier on about the silver lining, we now have an international audience. And it's making sure that we've got the opportunity, or can use the opportunity, for an international audience. So I'd really invite you to think about next year not only having your in-person, but working up your virtual workshops as well.
And that is definitely something that's been, don't worry, there's things coming. There's great things in the future.
Yes.
But I'm not at the point of actually saying anything out loud yet about that. But there are plans in the works, and don't worry. I never forget ever since the pandemic. Most people, you can't thank the pandemic for much of anything, really. There's a lot of really much more worse things happened than good. But one of the good things about it is such things as Zoom, such things as YouTube or whatever, and global audiences.
Yeah.
There's workshops, and there's help to be had. Because with the broader audience, there's a much more broader base of knowledge to draw from. We can all help each other.
Exactly.
In a global community.
Well, they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, here we have a global village,
right?
To help each other out.
Imagine how remarkable that child's going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
I mean, I was talking to a gentleman earlier on today who is from Cameroon. So we were doing some work together, and I know people. There's one gentleman I've worked with who's Mauritian, and so all these different nationalities that I've worked with, and that's not all post-pandemic, but it has been increased. It has been magnified as a result of the more of the international stuff that we're doing online now. Great news. So we've got in-person stuff coming up in the new year. You've got 2 speaking gigs in November, or is one of them in December?
No, I got 2 coming up this month.
Oh, this month, right.
Yeah.
So actually, 2 speaking gigs this month, as well as finishing the book and publishing it.
Yeah.
Yay. Go you.
There's a couple things. And besides a couple other things I've already done so far this year. There's one issue that I still need to work on for myself. Even though I speak about transformative thinking, I've been through the learning, and I'm coaching others, is that one thing I suggest to anyone that's out there is to, no matter how small it is, to make yourself aware of your accomplishments.
Yes.
Because I take for granted, it's like, yeah, okay, I've done that. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. It's like, so what? It's like, Sheldon, recognize your accomplishments for what they are. You know? Or when they look at your accomplishments for what you are. You mentioned earlier about how you fell and hurt your wrist today. Well, you still managed to get on this podcast, right? You still showed up like a trooper to interview me. So that's something a lot of people say, oh, I fell and hurt myself today. I'm not able to do that. It's like, well, you didn't do that. So that's like me and saying, yeah, well, okay, I've done a few things. Yeah, no big deal, but it is a big deal. So small.
Well, as you know, Sheldon, I'm a great one for saying, raise your dominant hand, put it on the opposite shoulder, and pat. Congratulate yourself. Well done.
For sure.
Yeah. And as you say, even the tiniest step forward, that 1% that you put out each day, definitely worth celebrating. Somebody once told me that large doors swing on little hinges.
And they do.
I've forgotten that.
They do. Every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth.
Yes.
You know?
Indeed.
So, and that's the kind of things that I help people realize, is like people saying, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. Yeah, you might not be able to do it that same way, but you can still do it. Like I know I mentioned most of the times I speak, it's like I'm not, because of the way my arms are, I'm not physically able to climb a mountain, but I can darn well walk around one.
Yes.
You know, or I can go to a store and buy some dynamite. I don't know if there's such thing as dynamite anymore, but let's just say that there was. I can go buy the dynamite and blow a hole through the center of that mountain and make my own path.
Yeah.
Just like making your own path through life. You might not be able, you might have to do things differently than other people do things, but who's to say that your way is any, I was going to use the word, isn't even a word, wronger. Who's to say that your way is any wronger than anyone else's,
Yeah. That's
right?
the point, isn't it? It's what works for you. And if you
Hmm.
say to yourself, I can't, well, you're right, you won't be able to. But if you say, well, I may not be able to do it this way, but let's explore what else I could do to still get around that
Hmm.
obstacle.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
disbelief is,
you are a walking testament to that, sir. You really are.
well, that's why I'm still able to walk, because I
Mm,
believe that. Because
yeah.
disbelief has been a guiding force for my life, pushing me to continue moving forward, even when the
Mhm.
path ahead seemed uncertain or difficult.
Yeah. You got that, for want of a better phrase, sheer bloody mindedness about you that goes, you tell me I can't, just watch me.
Right?
I love that about you, Sheldon. I really do.
Thank you. I would rather for people to tell me that I can't do something.
Yeah.
That's just the way I am. I'd rather for somebody to tell me I cannot do something than for somebody to say, "Oh, I got belief in you. I got faith in you." It's like, okay, well, I got not, and I know I'm not here. I got nothing to prove to nobody. I know, and none of us really do, only to ourselves.
Mm.
You
Nonetheless,
know,
if somebody's prodded you and said, you can't, you
like,
prod back and go, oh, yes, I can.
like who the heck do you think you are
Yeah.
telling me what I can and cannot do?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Just
So
watch me. Brilliant. Okay. So we've
absolutely.
looked at your speaking journey. We've looked at your writing journey. We've looked at your speaking journey. And we've kind of covered the how you embody your words as you take them from page to stage, because you are living testament to what you're speaking about. As we're winding up, then, we've spoken about the fact that you've got another book coming out, book number 4, title to be confirmed, date of publication definitely 31st of October.
Yeah.
Are there any final words of wisdom that you want to share with us as we wrap up?
Hmm. Final words of wisdom. That's a. Is anything really final?
I
Is,
love it. Now, that is a wonderful thing to finish with.
is anything really
In
final?
terms of the time that we have, yes, but in terms of the infinite amount of time that one has left, no. As you say, is anything absolutely final? No, it's not. There's always the opportunity while we're still breathing to still make a change. On that profound note, Sheldon, thank you for sharing with us your latest from page to stage.
Thank you.
For now, bye from us.